Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Spirit Podcast. Today, I wanted to talk about how intention is everything when it comes to our communication with the spirit world. And I'll explain what that means because I feel like people have been asking me questions a lot lately that there's a little bit of a similar nature in the way that I respond. So I thought I would talk about it here. So just recently, one of my clients was asking me, they kind of were filling me in on some dreams they had and the way that they got information from spirit and kind of saw things before they happened or got information that they just weren't sure what to do with it or it kind of freaked them out. And so my response to that is always we can tell the spirit world what we want to see and how we want to see it. So in that case, she saw something before it happened and it was an upsetting thing. It was a little bit of a tragedy in the family. So what I encouraged her to do is to connect with the spirit world and just talk to them and tell them. And so when I say connect with the spirit world, I also mean having the intention to connect with the spirit world. So I would sit with myself, do any kind of ritual thing, and maybe that's not the right word to use, but say when you connect with spirit, you like to light a candle or burn some sage or wash your hands and sit down in a space that feels safe or your desk where you do your work or hold a certain crystal. So, whatever it is for you, it could just be sitting with the intention to connect with the spirit world and having your people listen and your higher self and your guides listen and state what you want to see. So I would say to spirit, I would call in my spirit people and I would say, I don't want to see these images or things that happen to my loved ones before they do. I don't want to see things that I can't control. And the spirit world responds and listens. So when I use that word intention, I use it so strongly. And because anything that we intend, the spirit world has to respect. That's just kind of like the laws of the way it works from my experience and things that I've heard from other mentors and people in this industry is that the spirit world respects our wishes. So we're in the driver's seat, we're in control. We get to tell spirit how and when we receive things. So, I mean, not always. Of course, as soon as I said when, I'm thinking of the times that spirit communicates with us that we don't expect. But I just mean when we open up to spirit, we get to say, this is how I want to receive things. And so I encourage you to try that. You know, if you have found yourself in a similar situation where maybe you've experienced things that you didn't really want to or that were uncomfortable, you can sit with spirit and have a talk and definitely see where it goes, see where it takes you, see how the spirit world respects our wishes. It's pretty phenomenal and it's a beautiful thing. So, in the same way that that person asked me the question about receiving things and how to handle that, other people have asked similar questions about like having boundaries with the spirit world. And I feel like I covered this in a previous episode. I really feel like the spirit world taught me boundaries, and I'm very much better in the real world with boundaries because of the way that I have experienced boundaries with the spirit world. So, what do I mean by that? Is that if I want to work with spirit, I'll have an opening prayer. And that's kind of my on sign to let spirit know that I'm ready to work. Otherwise, I don't really want spirit to fluidly be communicating with me. That feels like it would be way too exhausting. And I don't have the bandwidth and the energy. I just want to be regular me out in the world when I'm getting my groceries, when I'm spending time with my kids. Of course, when I want to connect with spirit, when I'm working, I have my opening prayer and I connect in that way. So there's another thing with intention. I'm sitting down, I'm having the intention to work with spirit, and I know spirit's there. And because I've been doing this as long as I have, I trust spirit. So also, if you're developing and you're starting out, and what I tell my students is keep practicing and it'll get easier and easier. And so when you're starting out, say your opening prayer, say, I picture it like a neon sign that I'm turning on, like, Spirit, I'm ready to work. So that when you start to say that prayer, spirit communication just floods in and it will happen. So early on, if you feel like it's redundant, you feel like, I don't know why I'm doing this, I don't really feel like saying my opening prayer, I say do it. And it's like working a muscle. And the more you do it, the better, the stronger it'll get, and the better you'll get at trusting when that switch happens. So again, there's another place where intention is everything. Another way I want to talk about intention being everything is the way that so another question I get um, is how are people protected? I still have clients who book who say they haven't booked because they've been nervous, or other people told them, mediums aren't real, or it's work that's not supported by the church or God, which is so ironic because I am more connected with God than ever before. And I am much more a believer in heaven and God and everything doing this work. So I think it's really ironic that sometimes people think it's like the opposite. That blows my mind. Um, but coming back to what I wanted to say about that is also intention. So whenever I go to my office in the morning, I burn sage, that's my personal preference, and I clear it. And so again, this is intention. Clearing the space around you is all about intention. So you state the energy that you want in the room. I ask that only my highest and best be present to support what happens today. I always say I ask to be a container or a vessel for the spirit world, for the best healing for my client to come in. Anything that doesn't serve me isn't welcome here. I go around all four corners, and then I also spray some rose water that has holy water in it, actually, because I guess I'm a little superstitious. It's just my nature. So whatever feels good to you, maybe you don't need anything. You can just go in with the intention and it's just a shift. That's really what this is all about, and kind of what I wanted to focus on today. It's just all about intention, and that is enough. That's the holy grail when it comes to connection with the spirit world. Um, but for me, for whatever reason, I like to burn the sage. I like to spray the rose water and invite in the angels, the heavenly realm, and that's what feels good to me. Then I sit down in my chair and I attune to the frequency of the spirit world. So it's an interesting concept to teach, and it's something that the more you do it, you'll find your way with it, like meditation, with like anything in this way. Um, the more that you find, maybe there's some guided meditations that you really felt the vibration and the frequency of the spirit world when you did them. And maybe that's kind of what you hold in your heart when you connect in. I think guided meditations can be really helpful in that way. And there's so many out there. And there is really just an intention to connect with the frequency of the spirit world and feeling almost like a takeoff or a lift a little higher. I also like to ground myself before that, which is just imagining roots growing from the base of my feet and my tailbone all the way into the earth, wrapping around the core of the earth, and that energy traveling back up to me. And then attuning to the frequency of the spirit world is inviting in that love of God or the divine. And you can almost feel your cells vibrating a little differently. So that's really what it feels like to connect with the spirit world. And if you're new at this, and if you're listening to this and you're wanting this more concrete how-to guide, I teach a course on this where you have lots of ways to practice connecting in. And say you don't want to do the course, practice. There's so many mediums out there who are also self-taught that are phenomenal, and they just showed up. They connected with spirit. They did the work. And the repetitiveness of connecting in is really, really crucial, and showing up. And I also encourage you to bring a journal when you connect and just write down things that you're getting from spirit. Um, what I want to say about mediumship is that it's actually kind of easy in a way. I think all of us can connect and all of us have a way of connecting with the spirit world. And it's just using the intention to show up and connect and getting out of our own way. That's the biggest hurdle we all face. That's the biggest hurdle in mediumship. And the best way to practice that is to just keep showing up and developing and strengthening that trust with the spirit world. So, say you're connecting with a loved one in spirit or a guide, write down what you're getting. Write it down because it will be meaningful and it will mean something later. Uh, for me, when I was first developing and I was like ravenous to to develop and learn and be the best I could as quick as I could, and that wasn't really what it's about. And knowing what I know now, looking back, I wish I'd spent a little more time in that magic realm, opening up slowly. And I think it all unfolded exactly as it should for me. But I kind of chuckle at the feeling that I had of wanting to develop so fast, because that's not really what it's about. It's about opening up in your own time. And so when I was developing early on, I would sit with a journal and just write what I felt like my higher self or my guides or my mother in spirit were telling me. And sometimes I would show up and it would feel really silly or like a grocery list, or not much would come out except maybe some generic of like message of we love you, which sometimes is very potent and exactly what I needed. And other times pages would just pour out and spirit had so much to say. And one time I wrote a few pages and then at the very end I wrote hair things. And I thought, okay, I don't know if this is real. I might be losing it. Hair things from the spirit, like, what is this? You know? And it wasn't even like a week later, one of my kids dropped something in the couch. And this was my mom's old couch that we had for, at that point, years. And um, all of my kids were trying to reach in, and the youngest one could fit his hand in and grab it. And as he was pulling out the toy that he had dropped, he said, I feel something else. And he pulled it out, and it was a plastic container with all of my mom's old hair things in it. And that blew my mind. That was one of those things that I needed from the spirit world when I was just developing on my own to know, okay, there's something to this. That's powerful. And I knew this and I heard this and I had an awareness of this because of spirit. So I like to use that story as an example to sit with spirit, pull out a journal. Intention is everything. Attune to the spirit world, say your opening prayer, and just connect. Just show up. You're worth it. Spirit's worth it. You won't regret developing in this way with spirit. And if you're listening to this and you're hearing all this, there's a reason. And I think it'll be really nice if you not only develop, but spend some time developing on your own with some of the things you heard today. And send me some questions if you have further questions about any of that. I definitely wanted to kind of lay some stuff out for people and some of the not generic, some of the most common questions that I get from clients or friends about spirit development and what we can do on our own to develop without kind of jumping out into mediumship communication right away or mediumship development right away. And I just want to bring up my course one more time because that was really my intention in developing the spirit course. Is it's truly for people who want to connect with spirit without stepping into mediumship, without kind of working with others and testing those waters. But I do have a very high conversion rate from that course to the mediumship course because people want to continue on and develop further. But the spirit course is really a lovely place to feel empowered, to have boundaries, and to learn further the things we're talking about today. So Send me a message with questions. I'm happy to talk about this more in another podcast. I also wanted to talk about mediumship as a pathway to other ways of fulfillment in your life or other interests. It can spark other things you want to do. I think mediumship is really a stepping stool into a higher plane for your soul. So, what I mean by that is I feel like I've known a lot of people who develop their mediumship and embrace their abilities in that way. And then it's kind of taken them on to this other thing in life, and this other sort of fulfillment or interest. So I really think it's a nice, illuminating pathway to what might be next. So everybody who develops their mediumship doesn't have to go off and be a professional medium, yet it's it's like an awakening. It's like suddenly there's this lens overlay in how the world works, the magic in the fabric of reality, and then what to do next. So that's a really cool thing that I've witnessed, my students and friends and colleagues and mediums who've been doing this a lot longer than me and mentors, and seeing where else they go or where their mediumship takes them. Maybe it's artwork, maybe it's healing the body, the physical body, because we're working on healing in this spiritual plane, healing oneself, working through all of the stuff that we might have brought from our ancestors, from our childhood, and really healing it through working with spirit. So, yeah, that's kind of a big topic and maybe something to explore further another time, or something that I think I'm definitely going to be asking people when I interview them on the podcast and fellow mediums. What else have they woken up to beyond their mediumship capabilities? So I think I will end the podcast there and encourage you to reach out with any questions and things that also you want to hear me talk about. I want this to be really interactive and be talking about things that you're interested in. I also have some great guests lined up, and I'll be taking a little break in the summer. But thanks for meeting me here and being here. This is such a little fun project and something that I can do when I have time for it and when I get to it. And I just appreciate all of you so much. Take care. Bye.